We have to share a few words on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. Liz has finally kicked the bucket, people. She has decided to, I say decided, not like it was in her control. But yeah, I think it's first and foremost, her passing is it's a reminder that no matter what resources, what wealth, what science, technology, and just human advancements that anybody has, and unquestionably, she had the best resources at her disposal that any possible human being could have had. I mean, she's from the elite, few select individuals in the world that every single person on earth knows about, and who just enjoys an unfathomable amount of wealth that truly I doubt anybody knows the amount of wealth that she truly had access to. So despite that, this dunya is ephemeral, transient, and passing. That kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. It does not matter whether you are from the lower strata of society or from the elite, royal, ruling class. Everyone and each and all will at some day have the final curtain drawn for them. And that's a very powerful reminder. So, yeah, one thing for sure, money definitely kept her in very good health. I mean, she looked phenomenally great for her age. And if you just think about how much she's witnessed, I mean, she's from the aftermath of World War One and living till now. Wow. You know, one thing for sure, I feel King Charles, King, long live the King, King Charles the Third, rather. He, I think, must have thought, "Ya salam, my dua finally has come true." He must have thought, Ya Rab, I've been making dua for decades. Finally, waqtul istijaba, and my dua gets accepted. Man, he has ascended. He's come to the throne at what, 73 or something, and I think the Queen looked in better health than him. As Bechara, I don't know what's going on with his fingers. Those things are just, I don't know what that condition is, but he's obviously got the best medical advancements at his disposal, and yet still he's got these super hyper swollen fingers. And yeah, but I mean, people say he is more sympathetic to Islam, and he may be. I feel that he definitely is more sympathetic to Islam and Muslims than the Queen was. Definitely. You see, the thing about the Queen is, I think the Queen, she clearly had a presence to her. And you can understand that. I watched a clip by Jordan Peterson speaking about the Queen having passed, and he made some incredibly valuable points. That, you see, there was this symbolism of authority, and that she would have unquestionably just wielded and just had. You see, for many people that don't know, every Monday before, as the first course of action for the Prime Minister, they have to take a trip to Buckingham Palace and report the weekly affairs and the plans for that week to the Queen in a royal audience every week without fail, every Monday morning. And the woman you're talking to has been alive since your own perhaps grandfather was, and this woman has witnessed World War II, and she's witnessed over a dozen prime ministers come and go, or 13, or maybe this being the 14th now. So with Liz Truss getting her royal audience, and then the Queen dies. You know, but that must be so daunting, having to turn up and wow, people would be. I mean, you can imagine the kind of just what kind of a harrowing experience that must be. So yeah, now the Queen was this, now looking at her, she's like this. There's this appearance of this cute old lady, like a cute grandma kind of manifestation. But I don't think she, by any stretch, was a kind of sweet, quiet old lady. On the contrary, I believe that she was incredibly stern and very powerful, not just powerful as the Queen, but as a personality. She was a formidable force. I don't think she, by any stretch, was, like this sweet old lady, like a grandma that just. By looking at her, you have this image, like she looks so sweet and looks so like a cute old lady, and who's probably, and people picture these things, but I think she was incredibly stern, strict, ridiculously kind of religious about her protocol, and ambitiously held on to the throne. So, and she had the other royals under lock. I mean, and most likely she had Princess Diana killed. I mean, this is the same. This is the same Royal Highness, and yeah, and you have to remember she's from an era where the world was so different. And do people really change if the bulk of their formative years have passed in that era? So I think people can change so long as, but imagine reaching 60 years of age or 50, going past 50 years of age, and the world is still so backwards in so many things. I mean, we're looking at the 80s, and so racism wasn't even illegal in the UK. So, I mean, that was brought in in 1988. So you can see that this woman is from this era where you weren't, if she was giving a speech, you weren't allowed in pubs or these things to listen to the speech whilst eating anything, drinking anything. You had to stop. There was a whole religious protocol which the military and those people take very seriously. I mean, it's not, I know people, the public are airy-fairy, but the Queen and these people. So yeah, that's my thoughts on her. I think, sure, people say she did a lot of good things and was this figure of this symbolic figure for, and sure, I accept all of these things. I do also think that, look, really she had witnessed incredible oppression at the hands of the British. And even in a diplomatic way, because one could say, well, nobody wants to assume responsibility. But even in a diplomatic, and remember, she could have it looked over 10 times over before giving such a speech or issuing such a statement. She could have, to some extent, said something, done something about these atrocities that were carried out. Because it's in her lifetime that she witnessed the world suffering at the hands of the British. I mean, every 6 days, I believe it is, that a country in the world celebrates its independence from the British Empire. I mean, just think about that. Every 6 days. So every week, a country, and more than almost every week, a country is celebrating its independence from what was a barbaric rule of tyranny. So, yeah, and I get that. People say, well, how far back do reparations go and how far back does apologies go? But they could be something in some sense. But there wasn't. And we saw what happened with Harry and Meghan. And Harry has this interview. I did share it. I don't really use Twitter, but somebody sent me a Twitter link and it was on there. So I shared it, retweeted it. And it's like a mind-blowing interview that he gives. Really, you're it's just shocking that he's just speaking his reality, just nothing but just sheer reality to the camera. And he's speaking about the racism, the kind of the catastrophic stress levels that him and Meghan were facing, the fact that the family people were either making her life a misery, making his life a misery, to the extent that he felt she would either kill herself or they would kill her. And the Queen making these statements about the color of, their children's skin and things like this, and because she's from that era, you can't forget that she's from that era. So, and he mentions in the interview, he says that I saw all of this happening with my mother, and he says, and it's no, people forget that he says about his mother that when she was in a relationship with a person of color, that she was driven to her death. And you could see history was about to repeat itself. So yeah, these are the things. That said, some observations on the Queen. I feel that really she did, as far as being a queen, a monarch goes, she pulled off an incredible task. Incredible. I mean, you see, to be the queen or to be the monarch, she muted herself. And that is next to impossible. It was, each and every one of us wants a voice. We want to share an opinion, even if we don't want to be controversial or political, or we want to have an opinion. Oh, I like that flavored drink. Oh, I think this is beautiful scenery. Oh, I love this movie. Oh, I like that music. People just want to, this bayan, which we spoke of in last session, they want to just express themselves as a person to whoever, even if they've just got 3 people listening, or if they've got the world. They want to be heard. And what she did was, at the cost of the monarchy, she silenced her voice. And she did it incredibly well. I mean, I don't think any monarch could have pulled it off the way she did. She, did not give statements, did not give ideas, opinions, likes, dislikes. Occasionally, maybe something kind of crept out, but no. and being one of the most hyper successful or famous, hyper famous people throughout the world, yet to remain silent for decades, not for days. You know, if somebody said that just stop going on social media, or you can go on social media, but you can only just spectate. You can't participate, you can't like anything, you can't comment. And you must do this for, not you must, you can do this for 10 days. You must live in the shadows. That would seem like, whoa. And doing that for decades, um, really, in many ways, and living a life that if you step out of protocol, you would be immediately scrutinized. That life, to me, with that extent of everybody may have some exposure to some scrutiny, but to that extent that you can't do anything, it's not worth the jewels and the gold and the wealth and the royalty that it brings with it. To me, you know, as a person, to become silenced and just be a monument for the rest of your natural existence on this earth. Wow. But for us, you know, that's to observe that, it's like, wow, okay, this is an interesting observation. So, yeah, those were my thoughts. I've seen some Muslims. I saw this thing, you know, making, I think, wanting to pray her janaza, or people holding Friday congregation prayers for her death. And I think, you know, in all honesty, I think the Queen would have would have like brought these people back into their common sense if she was given an opportunity. I think she would be insulted, or she wouldn't be insulted, but she would find it absurd. I mean, maybe she wouldn't say that publicly because of who she was. She did not express opinions. But I don't think that's what she was after, and I don't think it's really the thing that. Sure, you know, people are sentimental, and they have a sentiment, and that in its own place is incredibly valuable. But it doesn't mean you have to. I saw this article saying, "Oh my God, we can see the Queen." This was, I think, some of the British folks saying, "We could see the Queen in the clouds." Oh my God, there's a picture of her in the Karamate Olia. وَلِلنَّاسِ فِيمَا يَعْشَقُونَ مَذَاهِبُ. So people, you know, this is so. And there was this person in this article, this viral photograph, where he was doing Umrah on behalf of Queen Elizabeth, and he's holding up this placard, and it says, you know, he's doing Umrah on behalf of Elizabeth G. So naturally, he got arrested. So I guess that Umrah never got accepted. The heart has a way of its own, huh? The love, the connection. So yeah, that said, people, we should always see in death a reminder, and we should avoid ever being, where humanly possible, being rude or abusive to a death. Okay, that is not the way of Islam or the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right, moving on.